All right, so I did a new plays festival a million years ago. I think it was, oh my gosh, it was like 1998 or something like that. I did a new plays festival, and I'm still suffering from it. Getting all of these people together, and this is plays. These were little plays. Uh, you have this entire film festival coming up, uh, and you're still breathing. Uh, Tell us about this. Tell us why there is below the line. Tell us how you are doing this. The whole works. I want to learn myself. How's it going?
Well, it started, we needed something to do during COVID, as so many things did, right? So we both come from a live performance background. And during COVID, we had to very quickly learn what film performance is like and how that works and everything that goes along with it. And then um, we were brainstorming things to do, and we thought, you know what? Let's just do a festival. So then we spent 6 months trying to decide what our hook was going to be because every festival, whether it's a horror festival or a teen festival or a you know regional festival, everyone seems to have a hook, and New York City is no shortage of film festivals, coincidentally.
Yeah.
Um, so we thought, you know what, we both have backgrounds in sort of the production and tech side of things. So how cool would it be to try and highlight films from non-traditional filmmakers, from the crew members who use their paychecks to produce their own short films, from students who are, doing whatever they can to get their film made, from non-traditional filmmakers, maybe filmmakers who do it as a side gig, who do it as a project that, doesn't pay their bills, but it's their passion, it's their hobby. And that's really what we decided to go with below the line, sort of trying to give a spotlight to those below the line workers who aren't, doing press tours, who aren't doing all of the glitz and glam of film, but who are still passionate and still creating great stories.
Wow. Okay. You broadsided me for a minute here. I thought, okay, making a film festival is like the really tough thing. You are opening this up to new filmmakers, to student filmmakers, and I hate to use the word hobbyists, but you know what I mean when I say that.
Yeah.
You're opening it up to anybody who says, "Oh, look, I have a camera. That's interesting."
Hmm.
What was it? Okay, so what was the criteria for choosing these films? You have this huge base. What did you look for in those films?
Well, I think what Jeff's saying is that since we came out of this from COVID, during COVID, live theater was completely on hold. So we were doing a lot of replicating live theater over Zoom. And then we just thought that doesn't feel right. It doesn't really, it's not the same thing. So that's when we started saying like we're editing a lot, we're watching a lot of film, we're making films, to try to replicate our other art form. Why don't we just kind of dive into something we can do online? So our first fest was completely online. But it's really broadened our reach of who we can, using the Film Freeway portal, and we're able to get international films and films from all over the country, which has been really fun. Rather than just when we were in Westchester County doing theater, we could only use people who could, you know, commute to theater. So um, it's been a lot of grassroots marketing, a lot of us networking with and partnering with neighboring film collectives and schools and trying to get them interested, but also just like organically, folks online who find our mission to be interesting and different. And I think just by calling it below the line, we're drawing some attention to um, the numerous amounts of people that it takes to make a film. And a lot of the conversations with the filmmakers have been about the sound design and how important and crucial some of these things that we don't think of right away are to a film. So to answer your question in a very long way, the criteria is just like it doesn't have to be big budget and big production value. It just has to have good writing or great animations. It's something that we find to be really engaging and cool. And if there's a standout in one of those below the line areas, you know, cinematography, editing, something that we think was really cool, and that we think our audience will connect with. So differently than most other film festivals, we don't have a block of different genres. We kind of curate the night to have a beginning, middle, and end, and a climax, and put the documentaries with the comedies, and have people really experience lots of different types of film. So we also think about that, having a range of films, and like you said, students to professionals, to amateurs. So it's been really exciting to put all those different types of people together in one room.
But I
I give
think
a lot
too,
of credit on you.
you hit
Yes.
it on the head, Dakota. We have to source a lot of this. You know what I mean? Like you don't have a lot of sort of a team behind a lot of these films. So we're getting films that are being submitted by a teacher or a professor who is trying to promote their students' work, or a collective that's trying to, do their own thing and promote it. So a lot of what we do in terms of the submission process is sourcing as many people as we can who have films, who are interested, and then sort of building those relationships as well.
You somewhat answered the question I was trying to breath to say to you. It's really interesting because you do two things with this. Number one, you're making this a learning experience for yourselves. You're looking at something and say, okay, this is a really fun film, but wow, look at what they did with the camera angles.
Hmm.
Interesting, the use of their special effects. What you're looking at the jobs that are below the line. And you're right, we don't see those sometimes. People laud the director, but they don't realize that the editor really turned the film into something. So that's wonderful that you're doing that. And for my generation, thank you so much for making it diverse, and that you got to sit through the documentary, the drama, the comedy, the whatever. Nowadays we can just figure out what's going to appear on our box, and we're only going to see that. Uh, don't get my wife started on the fact that there's only horror movies on my block, but that's beside the point. You're bringing it back to the good old days where you turn on the television and say, "This is a show. I never heard of it. Let's see it." So you're putting that audience in there, and they're going to get the experience of, well, I wouldn't have seen that anywhere else. How interesting! You're educating yourselves and you're educating your audience. Amazing, amazing. Now you started this in the pandemic. So what year is this in terms of how many years have you been doing this?
4.
This is our fourth season. Yeah.
Uh, what have you learned in those 4 years?
Oh, a lot. That's a loaded question. I've learned that, I think most recently, that it is a lot, it is very similar. Independent filmmaking in many ways is really similar to the community theater that we're used to. Or at least we're creating that same environment that we used to. And people are, I mean, that's what we do, right? We put cool people in the room together and see what happens, right? So and it's been apparent that that's that's our game. And it kind of just works. And independent filmmakers are also looking for that same community. And they're looking to, and really smart ones, and that want to build off of each other and learn new things, and you know, steal notes from each other. Like it's the same thing, and people are people. And it's been really cool to have an event live in New York City the past 3 years, and kind of incrementally be able to grow more and more. I think that's what I've learned, is that it's a slow game, but we're inch by inch, more people are finding out about us, and more people are submitting, and more people are coming, and we're figuring out little cool things we can learn ourselves. So I think that's what's been happening for me over the past few years.
Very cool.
I think the same. I mean, I think for me, it's be it's been very interesting to see how different people promote their work. Like as a theater person, you are constantly promoting your work and yourself and what you're doing and all of those things. And there are people who do that in the film world, and then there are people who are like, well, there's my film.
Hope I get discovered.
Right? Like it's so interesting to me that people especially in today's day and age like think that they are just going to be able to put themselves out there and everything's going to happen for them, you know? But I mean, that aside, like Dakota said, the community has been absolutely amazing. People who want to engage and are making connections and, all of that. But I also, for me, it's been crazy the international side of it. Every year we get anywhere from 10 to 20 submissions from all over the world. This year we have Brazil, we have Spain, we have an Iran. Last year we had a Ukrainian film that sort of went behind the lines in the war. And so that's really been cool to me, sort of the international side of it. And with with the really good ones comes the you're like, oh, maybe you need like subtitles and things like that. Like all the pieces sort of come together beautifully in some projects and struggle in other projects. So it's been fun to watch.
And you will still put some of those in. You're not going to look at a film and say, oh well, this. I'm sorry, the editing isn't what I used to. We're not going to do it. You look at the
Yeah.
promise of these movies. You look at these things and you say, okay, look at that storyline. People need to hear that.
Yeah. We had
That's
2 years
wonderful.
ago, we had an Italian middle school film class submit their film. Um, and it was it was delightfully charming and a little bit chaotic. But like every person who saw it was like, "Oh my gosh, that was so cool." Like, and it was like a 3 minute, like thing that they did just in their classroom. I forget what the whole premise was, but that's I think the beauty of what we're building here is we can take a middle school, we can take a college student, we can take, an accountant who does this on the side, and really help to put their work out there and give them a platform to share their work and share their stories.
You know
What's
what's really
really
weird? Yes, I'm sorry. Go on.
Sorry, Jay. What's really cool too, like to speak to what Jeff is saying, is that this year we've actually spotlighted our students on a separate night, and students are so interesting too, because one of our filmmakers on the opening night actually is a professor of film up at Lesley University. And she said a bunch of students always work on her projects and had worked on this as interns. And she's like, the great thing about that is that I have so many years of experience, but they have fresh, cool ideas. And another more local student who was on with us the other day talking, shared like a cool hack for a camera, and another director was like, "What? Say that again. I got to write that down." So like, even though the students are more green, they also have really cool, fresh ideas. So I'm really happy that we're able to bring them all together, because that little moment just kind of showed me, what we learn every day in the classroom and stuff, is that you never know who's going to give you a kernel of wisdom that day. People have great ideas. It doesn't matter if they're young or old, and sometimes that fresh take on things is appreciated by the vets. So it was really cool.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Jeff, you had your slightly veiled quip about those that don't promote their own movies. Uh, Ironically, what you're doing, you're walking the walk. You both are walking the walk with this. The paradox is how you see people discovered in the movies is not how people are discovered by their movies. So
Mm.
many filmmakers think, oh, okay, well, I read that Brad Pitt came to see it, had dinner with the guy, and then gave him $1 million. no, that's not how it's going to work. There's so much more to it. But you're opening the door to them. You're saying, here you go. Here's the opportunity. Now you need to run with it.
Mhm.
You always hear on these talent shows, on these televised talent shows, where someone says, it can happen, your dreams can come true. You're doing that. That's the walk you're walking. You're saying, here's where your dreams can come true. And now it's up to them to really do that. Dakota, you used you said you're in community theater there. So there's a great irony of the fact that you're presenting your film festival in a theater and not at a movie. There's so many throughout Manhattan. There's so many studios that show film festivals that are equipped just for film. No, you're saying, this place where you can do a play, we're doing a movie as well. You're combining your worlds as well.
Mhm.
Great. What's really fascinating about this year? What are you looking? Is there anything you looked at and said, that's going to make a difference, or wow, I hope people sees that? Is there that one or two movies that you just said, glad we got that one now?
We had a lot more films this year about mental health and sort of anxiety and around a lot of different topics, which was interesting because I think that every people experience anxiety in a lot of different ways, but we literally had I think 4 or 5 films submitted sort of around the subject of anxiety, which I think speaks to sort of a mood and a moment for sure. But also they were really, really good. I mean, like I think 3 of them are in. Like there's there's not before this year, there didn't seem to be like a a a common topic like that. You know what I mean? This is the first year that we've had like several films sort of on the same topic and in completely different ways and from completely different viewpoints and all very well done.
Yeah,
Right.
what Jeff's saying, tackling that subject of anxiety and like, where am I going? What's my future? It may be because we started to include more students, but it also is coming through with the adult filmmakers. And most of these pieces, as we're talking about a rather serious subject of mental health and anxiety, are either animated or comedic
Mhm.
in care, but they, it's so it gives you're learning something much like, Inside Out or something, right? Where it's seemingly oh, it's an animated film, I'll have fun. And then you come out at the end with like, huh, yeah, I also do struggle with that with that topic.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's very funny, Jeff, when you said that? When you said, okay, well, this year I see there's at least 4 or 5 films that are about, I thought you were going to say war, the government, something that you see in the paper. Jimmy
That's too
Kimmel,
correct.
something. I thought there was going to be those films, but you said mental health,
Hmm.
mental anxieties and things like that. Why? Why do you think that's a very funny, very quick story? I worked for an ad agency for many years, and one of my managers came running over to me toward the end of my time there. He came running over to me and said, "Okay, we got to do something about this. Why? Because autism is." And I thought, "What?" But okay, so I got it. What they meant. Why is mental health? Why is that hot now for your film festival? Why do you think that is?
I think to me, it's sort of the film community and the stage community too sort of lag behind a little bit, right? So we're now seeing sort of the fruits of works of things coming out of COVID, which was a time with a lot of anxiety, a time with a lot of mental health struggles, and um, a lot of things just working differently. And I think we'll start seeing the government and that kind of stuff in a couple of years after people have, it's very rare for a film to sort of time perfectly with what's going on in the real world. Because filmmakers see a story and then they explore it more and then they, decide how they want to tell it and all of those things. So I think we're sort of seeing coming out of feelings of the pandemic now. And then, we'll start to build on that moving forward.
I think what Jeff's saying about things that were created during and a little bit after our lockdown. One of the films, Welcome to Theater, also very much has that same through line of created during COVID,
Yeah.
because it actually deals with two theater producers and creators in a local theater, and talking about casting choices, talking about diversity, talking about, well, we can't do that now. Things are different. So you definitely are noticing a different viewpoint
Hmm.
post-COVID, a different vantage point, from some of the things that came out of that period of time. So yeah, we're definitely seeing that.
Okay, so now you had the phrase, you said, well, we can't do that right now. So I somewhat know the answer to this, but I want to hear it from you because there's such a diversity in terms of the demographic of your filmmakers. Um, we're in a very tense world. We came from a very tense world with COVID, and we entered into another tense world. I won't get more political than that. You can fill in whatever blank you wish, but we're in a tense situation. Do you find, and yes, we are in a situation where you can't say that right now. You can't do that right now. Do
Hmm.
you find your filmmakers, maybe it's broken up between the established ones and the emerging artists, et cetera? Do you find your filmmakers are thinking that and saying, okay, no, I can't talk about that? Or are they saying, oh, the hell with you, this is what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that last year we had a documentary, as Jeff said, from a pretty seasoned professional about Ukraine. Um, and to be honest with you, it's also a testament to us and a risk for us to be like, are we going to put in a documentary about Ukraine, uh, a story about a kid transitioning, a story of, but that is the point of, our freedom to create and
Hmm.
freedom of speech, and like art forms art should be where we see people's opinions, and um the Crucible is about the Salem witch trial, but it's really about what's going on with McCarthyism, right? In the 50s. It's, what is this film about? And we should feel that this is the way to express that. And I think that that's definitely what the filmmakers are leaning into, is that these things that are maybe autobiographical for them, or you see them play or dealing with their the current events of our time. We're definitely seeing them dive into those topics. And that is not to say that there's not a lot of comedy and fun, but we definitely are seeing a lot of just putting it on the table, throwing it out there. Yeah.
And one in particular just totally roasts film festivals. Like roasts the whole process of
The
creating a
man.
film, submitting it to a festival. Like it's brilliant, but it's brilliantly done. And I think like Dakota was saying, no, they're not. And I think we see it especially in films that are submitted from Middle Eastern countries. We had a film, there's one this year, where a woman is accused of killing her brother or a man that she lived with that was in charge of her. Um, and like those films, especially too, really, you would think that, they wouldn't want to sort of put that out there, but every year there's a plethora of submissions from Middle Eastern countries just talking about things that happen there and what they're dealing with and what they're living with, and it's just constant.
We get propaganda whether we like it or not, and so we
Mhm.
take these opinions, we form an opinion of a country, a people, or whatever from the various cavalcade of news and other
Sure.
sensory overload. But it comes down to what the people have to say. We think this is what's going on in the country. No, talk to the real
Mhm.
people. Talk to the
Mhm.
filmmakers
Yep.
filming real people. All right, my last question, because I know you're both in a hurry. This goes to both of you. This goes to both of you. Okay, all these filmmakers get courageous and they're going to stand up and make these movies, and there you are. We don't care what you think of our topic and all of that, because they have an umbrella of a film festival that's basically taking responsibility for it. So now you are the proud parents of dozens of films that might really piss off all the right people. How do you feel? And actually, ironically, Orson Welles, my favorite filmmaker, he even said that once. They said, "Why do you do these works that anger people?" He says, "Because it pisses off all the right people." You might be
Mhm.
pissing off all the right people. How do you have, as executive producers, as founders of this film festival, where you're taking a student who may not know any better and put something up there, who knows what the message is, and a filmmaker who knows better and knows what he's putting that message in there? How do you feel about, are you brave? Of course, you're brave enough, you're doing it. But how do you feel about the fact that you're in front of all these films that, and in the end, someone's going to turn and say, who allowed this to happen? How do you feel about that?
I think Jeff and I work together because we see a lot of things in a similar way. And then also we work together because we vastly differ on a lot of subjects, right? And that is challenging. But it's also what we need because we can't just have people who see the world the exact same way, and we can't put out only films that I like. Like that doesn't work. Um, so I think the community that we've created, um, and the audience that we're cultivating, the education we're trying to set up, I think, with people is that when you walk into something, as we do for theater, you might not like everything that you see, but looking at things with a critical lens. And I say some of the things that Jeff and I have seen on Broadway that we hated, I was happy that we saw them because we had a lot to talk about. You know, if you leave the theater and you have absolutely nothing to say, then that didn't work. But if everybody comes to the fest and was like, oh, well, when they did that I really disagree with that. If it sparks conversation, that's what I'm about. So if you hated the film because it brought up something for you, but you chatted with someone for 30 minutes about it, I think
Mhm.
that's a win in my book.
I hope. I just like everything Dakota said, you know, and I would just add, I hope someone says something because my response is simply going to be, and like
Yeah,
I think that we live in a world where discourse is needed and where some of the greatest things that can happen come out of that discourse. So I think if we could spur something on, we're doing our job. We're doing good.
Excellent. Excellent. I got to tell you, and I can say this both of you because you're both theater people at heart. You have a podcast now, The Theater Snobs, and so
yes.
you're still immersed in the theater. Um, the the theater is film is a marriage. Theater is a one night stand. Uh, you're going to see a play, no matter whether you spent $900 to see Hamilton or it's your local whatever. It's that night. Whatever message it has, it then disappears essentially.
Mhm.
Uh, and there's a bravery, there's a wonder to that. But I've always been admiring a film because it's there forever. Uh, my favorite production of Hamlet was done in the 1980s, and it had twins, and one was stark naked, and that was the one that did the monologues. And Quentin Crisp played Polonius, and Helen Mirren played both Ophelia and Gertrude. It was insane, and I loved it. And it's still there. You can still find it. Whatever message
Right.
that's there, you can still find it. So by you opening the doors and saying, okay, here's your messages, make it them eternal, I think is absolutely wonderful. It's brave, it's brilliant. The fact that you have a professional filmmaker standing right next to somebody who's using his iPhone for it is absolutely brilliant and daring. I give you a lot of credit for this. Okay, where is it? When is it? How is it? If someone's listening to this and they want to come and see this, where are they going?
Well, I'll do in person, you do streaming, Dakota.
Okay.
We are in person at the Episcopal Actors Guild Hall in New York City, Friday, October 10th and Saturday, October 11th. Those are our two screenings. And then we have a panel on filmmaking, how to make a film on a budget, Saturday, October 11th before the screenings.
Yes, and you can also stream it all weekend for those of us who are out of town, international. We'll have both Friday and Saturday nights films up online to buy tickets that way as well. And you can go to our website, chillbp.com, and find out how you can get a ticket and get to our event right away.
Streaming. Gorgeous. So now you're turning to these student filmmakers and says, hey, guess what? You're on Netflix. Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
Folks, I'm thrilled to speak to you. I think this is wonderful, very exciting. Can't wait to be there. Can't wait to see these films. I have reviewers coming and they're giving me all sorts of comments and they're quite impressed. One actually I was speaking to and he was talking about a film and he asked me what that person had done. And I looked at the list. I said, oh no, that's one of the student filmmakers. This is his first. And so you're already educating people. And I think it's absolutely marvelous. Give you a lot of credit. And 5 years, let me tell you, in theater language, 5 years is about 30 years to normal human beings. So you're doing great. Keep up that good work. Thank you both.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.